I've been asked the question several times in my life, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off the video I did the other day about are you listening? I am no super spiritual person, haven't been. I've learned some great lessons, but the question's been asked me several times, does God really speak? I mean, come on, seriously, does he speak? And I've been told there's no way, I don't understand it. So, there's no way God speaks. I don't understand it. Well, there's a lot of things I don't understand. Doesn't make it not so. I don't understand how a brown cow can eat green grass and make white milk. It does it. I don't understand how a little baby salmon can be born, an egg, and he's born, and then he swims thousands of miles out in the ocean. And then one day I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to go home. And without any onboard navigational equipment, thousands of miles back to the very spot that he was born and spawned and died. I don't get it. Don't understand it. But that doesn't mean it's not so. My mother used to have a saying. She's the sweetest thing in the world. She's always had these one-liners that she would zing at me, and whether I wanted them or not, but they were always truth. She would say, son, a man or a woman with an argument is no match for a man or a woman with the experience. In other words, your argument doesn't mean anything to me because I've had the experience. And so let me tell you about an experience that I had, one of many. I could spend the next hour, several hours telling you stories about a godly mother and father, about a father who prayed. And listen, if my dad says, I feel like God spoke to you, you could take it to the bank, it was going to happen. Anybody that knows him will tell you if Pastor Ferris says it's going to happen. He didn't do that his whole life. He didn't always say God spoke to me, but when he did, you rest assured it was going to happen. I was about 16 years old. I worked at Walmart and I worked in the lawn and garden department. And the manager really liked me. I mean, he trusted me, and so in the summer of my 16th year, I would spend several nights working all night long on the clock. The store shut down, but I would put together the lawn mowers and the wheels and the handles and the wires and so the next day when they come in, it'd all be put together out of the crates and ready to go. One night I told Mom and Dad, I said, listen, I'm going to be working all night long. No problem, son. Hey, be careful. Have a great night. I'll see you in the morning. But about 11:30 that night, three gentlemen, I'm not going to mention any names. If you're watching it, they'll know exactly who they are. Two prominent dads, two of the boys that came, their dad was very prominent in the town. And another young man, they pulled up in the car and said, hey, Ferris, man, let's go. Hey, listen, we're going to go smoke some weed. We're going to go up to the town next door to us, smoke some weed and come back, man. We won't keep you long. I was like, nah, man, I don't want to do it. No, never done it. Oh, come on, man. Come on. And so I did. Got in the car, and my experience was we smoked it all the way there and we smoked it all the way back. Well, I get out of the car and I remember them saying to me, we was gone probably about an hour. And I remember them saying to me, listen, Ferris, get in your truck, roll down your windows. Before you go home, you run around, you air yourself out. If you got some cologne, spray some cologne on, put some mints in your mouth. Just this whole list of things that I was supposed to do so I wouldn't get caught. Well, I'm thinking, well, man, it was like 1:30 in the morning. Nobody's going to be up. So if I could just get home, get through the door, get to my room, I'm safe. So I remember going away home, I did the air out thing, and I get home, and I had this big old loud four-wheel drive pickup truck with 12-inch dual exhaust glass packs, and my mother said she could hear me coming from a mile up the road. So I remember I gunned it, got up to speed, kicked it neutral, and I coasted into the driveway, barely got in, shut it off, walked up to the door, and I remember going like this, and I opened the screen door, and I went to reach for the main door, and it opened, and there stood my praying father. And I could look in his eyes, and I could tell that he had been praying. And he said to me, I remember stepping back, he said, where you been, boy? I said, at work, Dad. He goes, no, you hadn't. I said, yeah, Dad, I was at work. I was putting together. He goes, son, don't lie to me. Where you been? I said, Dad, I was at work. I promise I was at work. And he goes, son, I'm going to give you one more chance. Where you been? I said, Dad, he said, listen, boy, don't tell me. He said, I'm going to tell you what you were doing. You were with three other boys. You got in a car and you smoked weed all the way up to the next town and back. He said, I know exactly what you did. Get to your room. I'll talk to you in the morning. You ever had a sleepless night? Oh, I remember. All I could think about is which one of those idiots called and told her, oh no, one of them got caught. And so they called the parents it was a sleepless night. I mean, it was a night of repentance. It was a night of, oh God, if you'll get me through this, Lord, if you'll let me live another day. And I made all kinds of promises, but I didn't sleep. So I wake up the next morning and I get ready to go to school. And I said to Mom, I said, listen, okay, I get it. Yes, that's what I did. I said, but I got to know who told that this happened? Which one of the parents called? She goes, nobody. I said, what do you mean nobody? She goes, nobody called. I said, well, then how did he know what I'd done? She goes, well, son, let me share it with you. She said, about midnight, a little after, she said, your dad sat straight up out of the bed and said to me, Sharon, we got to pray. Our son's in trouble. And he rolls off the bed and she said, Larry, she said, if I've ever heard your dad touch heaven, I heard it that he touched heaven instantly. And I heard him praying the angels of protection, Lord, spare my son, God. God, have mercy on my boy. And she said, when he gets done praying, he looks at me and said, Sharon, I saw him. I saw him. He's in a car with 3 of the boys and he's smoking weed. I saw him. God, let me see him. Well, needless to say, my dad didn't say anything to me when we got home. Probably mom told him, hey, I talked to him. Listen to me. That was my first and my last experience with weed. Does prayer work? Well, in that case, it did. There's no way, of course, one thing, my dad would never lie, but it works. God does speak. The problem is we aren't listening. It's what voice are you listening to? And I don't know what I'm saying. I woke up this morning with a total different idea, total different thought. Sometimes I'll see something and it'll trigger a thought and I'll go with it. But today I woke up and here's something is sometimes God will send people into our lives and they will give us a word. Hey, not thus saith the Lord, but listen, if this, you'll do this, God's going to take care of you, God's going to do this, and we might start off believing for a while, but then when things don't happen just as fast as we think they should, or that God didn't speak, God doesn't, and so we become nasty and mean and bitter, and we turn around and we thwart it could be right there, ready to happen, but we thwart it with our unbelief and our hey, listen. So I felt like saying today, if you've ever questioned, hey, does God speak? If you've ever been given a word, has somebody ever said, hey, I feel like God said this to me? Now listen, you can always judge it by the book. God's not going to give somebody a word for you that goes against his book. They're going to tell you go out and rob a bank because you can't pay your bills. It's just not. But faith is believing in something that you can't really tangibly feel or see. I'm sure that my dad has many times in his life, the things that God has spoke to him about, hey, that's what faith is. You've got to just trust that, hey, I'm listening to the right voice. Guys, prayer works. God does speak. The difference is, what voice are we listening to? Never knock another person's experience with God. Never challenge anybody that whether they have God or they've heard from God. Or listen, if somebody has had the experience, you can stand tiptoe to tiptoe, turn blue in the face. Your argument will mean absolutely nothing because an experience always trumps an argument. Does God speak? Yeah, I learned that at 16 years old. He speaks. Go out today, put a smile on somebody's face, be quick to forgive, and always extend mercy. Above all else, guys, be kind. Be kind to each other. And that is a view from the fair side of things. Hope you have a great day, guys. Thank you so much.